All I gotta say to you guys is that it is mad cold out here. It is super cold for November 1st, and that means frost. So tonight we're gonna be getting our first frost. So in preparation for that first frost and the upcoming wintertime, we have to close out our entire garden. So come with me as I go around just closing up some of my garden beds. I'll talk to you about my year and also how to do it about 2 different ways using 2 different materials. Let's go. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a much needed form of mental health therapy, sobriety, and also learning how to navigate this crazy ass world with ADHD using tips, tricks, and hacks we can find in our garden. This is good old Chippy. He's got a cone of shame on here because he does not know how to stop chewing on his skin and fur. That's why he's got a cone. But come with me as I kind of figure out what am I going to do to close this garden out. Now, the reason why we do not want to leave our soil exposed for the wintertime, and the reason why we have to go through all this trouble and tribulation just to go close our garden, is because we want to protect our soil. Now, when it comes to the wintertime, the winter is very harsh, and it can be also equally as harsh to our soil. Let's pretend Chippy is a microorganism, okay? We leave this cute little microorganism full of fur outside unprotected the entire winter. You know what? That is cause for concern, because you know what? This cute little fuzzball of a microorganism can totally die outside. We don't leave ourselves outside and exposed in the wintertime. So guess what? We're not leaving our soil exposed. There are tons and tons of microorganisms living in that soil. And you already know Pennsylvania winter is harsh. We got snow. We got some crazy ass weather. We got freezing temps. And all that plays a factor in our soil for the upcoming year. You would think that this is not exactly important, but it is. Our soil is the key to our garden. If you don't treat your soil good, then chances are your garden is gonna suck. And we don't want that, because we want a flourishing garden, and that means protecting our soil. Not even my garden is safe from those little mini dinosaurs. Those little suckers just came in here and just did what they wanted and started digging up a lot of my garden beds. So I'm going to try to piece a little bit of them together. Not all of them were ruined. See, these 2, they didn't really mess up. But I'm going to try to piece them together, because we're going to be using some compost to be filling in at least the top of these rows, at least minimum of 1 inch. There was this one hack that was just instrumental in my whole entire garden year that I will never give up. And that had to do with just color coding all of my tools so it was easier to find inside of the garden. I used bright ass orange duct tape and duct taped all of my tools, so every time I lost it in the garden, I would just look around and see a bright orange tool, and it's just stuck out, and I never lost a tool. What do you do when you have a bunch of plants that are still growing inside of your garden beds, but you do need to close them out? Well, there's something called chop and drop. Now, if you do not have any type of brassicas or cold hardy veggies that can withstand a bunch of frost and cold, really cold nights, then chop and drop is definitely something that you can consider. Like for example, right here, I have a bunch of leftover pepper plants. Those pepper plants are not going to give me nothing. They're going to be very, very stunted. But I also do not want to pull them up out of the ground. We're disturbing the soil if we are just lifting these roots, these plants out of the ground. The chop and drop method is exactly what it says. You're basically just kind of chopping your plant down, and we're just leaving it as is. If it's going to do anything, it's going to be adding more nutrients to the soil, because we're leaving the plants intact, and we're definitely leaving the roots intact underneath the soil, which means less disturbance, which means less pissing off of the microbes. And we want them. We want them to be happy campers until the springtime, because that's when they get really back into action, and we want to just encourage a lot of that activity going, and we don't want to piss anything off. So we're just going to leave it covered as is. What are you going to do? Even if you have all this chop and drop area, you're going to cover right over it. Before you even add the leaves, I personally like to add a bunch of fertilizer, a bunch of compost. That's my thing. Compost, I'm always talking about compost, because compost is king when it comes to the garden, all right? But if you don't have compost, it's all good. You can skip that and go straight to the leaves. But for me, and for those that do have compost accessibility or some type of fertilizer, I don't want to get too crazy about regular granular fertilizer, because that's not really applicable right here. Oh my God, isn't he the cutest little thing with his little cute cone of shame? I love you, Chippies. Little Chip. Aww. Sometimes money is very limited, so you're going to use what you're going to use. If you are going to use cardboard, you can definitely use that, but you're going to have to layer up multiple different levels of cardboard, because it is biodegradable and it will degrade over time. So chances are that it's probably not going to last you the entire winter. It will start to break down. This is why if you use multiple levels of the cardboard, then you probably could, pull that off. If that's the only way that you can pull it off, then that's exactly what you're gonna do. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. All you need now is some stakes or just something heavy like some rocks or something to keep the plastic down from the heavy winds from wintertime. It is always windy in the winter. You see how sneaky Chip is? He just rolls right back into the same spot while I have my back turned. That's all you're gonna do is just cover the beds for winter and then wait patiently until the springtime. Man, let me tell you, it was a trying year. This was a very hard year for me because this was a year that I just went sober, okay? No booze, no liquor. Turns out I had ADHD, addictive tendencies, and also did not realize I had past trauma. I'll probably do a video on this, but that all makes sense as to why my mental health was the way it was. Either way, I took this whole entire year to do a lot of soul searching, and it really did help me out. And boy, anyway, you can catch that story on TikTok, by the way. Do you think these dogs are taking advantage of just chilling wherever they feel like it? Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. I go in depth about my whole entire year because that's when I started my TikTok. But maybe I'll do a little in-depth video on another time on that. But I really did enjoy this year, though. It really did teach me a lot something. And on top of that, I got married to the love of my life. So I think this garden year turned out great, even if I didn't get enough tomatoes like I thought I would. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some great information out of it. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you use to close out your garden beds? Have you closed out your garden beds before? And have you noticed a difference between the fall, closing the garden bed and you don't, versus what happens in the springtime? I would love to know. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. Also, you can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, on TikTok. I'm on all platforms. TikTok is strictly mental health and whatever is happening in my personal life. So that has nothing to do with garden related, but the Facebook and Instagram always does. So until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both are going to be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. I'll check y'all later in the next episode. God bless you all. Peace and love.